We finally have use of those spaghetti strainers. Wow, so much to uncover in this episode. We're actually going to be talking about episode 9, 10, 11, and the finale 12. So stay tuned for Bojack Horseman After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
You were getting a pretty good preview of the song before. Sing it, Andrew. I clearly don't know the lyrics, but it's a really good song. So fitting for this whole season.
So fraught and emotional and passionate and
It's
desperate.
just so Bojack Horseman. Welcome back, guys, to Bojack Horseman After Show.
Hey.
I just want to say, first of all, I am Kanika Lol. Follow me on social media at Kanika Lol. We're supposed to have another host, and unfortunately, we had to finish off this season without him. But I know that the wonderful host to my left is going to hold on the fort with me, so please introduce yourself.
I'm going to hold that fort down.
Yes.
It's not going to get up no matter what happens. I'm Andrew Mena. Hey, guys, if you want to talk to me on the Instagram or Twitter, Twitter me at Andrew Mena and Instagram me at the Andrew Mena. Robin Genesee couldn't be here because he's too busy fighting crime. Solving world problems, hunger, I believe.
One college at a time.
Yeah. So if you want to tweet at him, thank you for saving the world. He won't know what that means.
We love you, Robin, and we'll see you. I don't know when, but we'll see you
Eventually.
another time. Yeah, in the next season. All right, so let's try to go.
4.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
happening.
I'm so excited.
Oh
it
my
has to
gosh.
happen because there were so many cliffhangers off of the
Yes,
finale.
and we'll talk about that all.
Yeah, so best thing that ever happened, episode 9. We get a whole, pretty much a nice transformation and development and another cliffhanger of where Princess Carolyn and Bojack Horseman will be in terms of their relationship. We get a nice little flashback from 2007 when the Bojack Horseman show came out, and the reviews are horrible, and of course he calls Princess Carolyn to his rescue because he just seems to obviously go into drugs and alcohol whenever there's a bad situation in his life.
Well, totally. He
Doesn't
tries
know how
not
to handle it.
Yeah, he tries not to feel it. And then with Princess Carolyn, he just has, this person who will dote on him and just give him things and do his bidding and get what he wants for him. So he definitely turns to her as this person to kind of fill all of the holes, basically all of those holes.
I know. Oh yeah.
Yeah. She basically says at the end of this episode, because this is an entirely Bojack and Princess Carolyn episode, it's all about them and their relationship.
Yeah.
She says at the end of the episode, you don't want a girlfriend, you don't want a friend, you want a mommy you can slide your dick into, which is it speaks to the Oedipal complex that Bojack kind of clearly has about strong women. All of the women that he ends up kind of feeling for are strong women. Anna Spanakopita clearly is a strong, does not take shit from nobody kind of woman.
Right.
So it's very interesting to see this flashback of the way that he was with Princess Carolyn when they were having a budding romance more than anything. It's
she literally got under his skin so much in this episode. They kind of did to each other in terms of we got to this point where we really saw these two characters know each other so well and know what upsets each other about saying just one thing that could trigger the other person. And we both know that they care for each other, they love each other, but it's kind of a toxic relationship in so many levels besides just professionalism. Professionalism. Can I even say that word?
Professionalism?
That could be a word.
That's a word.
I think I just donned it. Professionally or personally. I don't know where I was going with that because I was getting too caught up on professionalism.
I mean,
I said wrong. I said my new word wrong.
This whole thing is that new word we've created. Professionalism.
Is that the word I said? Now I'm forgetting.
It's okay.
And also we get this great line too that Princess Carolyn tells Bojack in the beginning, don't break my heart.
And she says it while he's asleep.
Yeah.
And she's says it quietly. He wakes up and is like, "What did you say?" And she's like, "Oh, I was just being wistful." And he's like,
"Can you whist somewhere?
Can you be wistful a little quieter? Not everyone cares about your whist."
Right, exactly.
It's super rude, and it's the worst way that someone could react to an emotional, heartfelt verbalization. You're if someone's like, "Oh, I love you," and you're like, "Could you love me a little quieter? I'm actually reading right now." It's just
well, in his defense, he didn't really hear it, but if he had to have heard it, I wonder what his reaction would have been.
I mean, I feel it's very the fact that they couch it that way, I feel like it's the metaphor for their entire relationship. It's indicative of who he is as a person. He's the kind of person that I didn't hear what you said, but it was too loud for me, and I need you to shush while you're near me. You know what I mean? I think that is him in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, that's that's true.
And I think this episode specifically does a lot to kind of be like, this is who they are, like as they are. In this episode, I was just gonna jump into the idea of them as a romance versus a business, and I think that's why Bojack. I think that's why Bojack is starting to try to change things in this episode, is because he's finally understanding that business for him and romance aren't gonna be tied together. I feel like he's kind of giving up on romance as an idea for himself, just because he's like, oh, I've tried to date, especially in the last, whatever it is, 10 years about. And it just doesn't work. And it always ends up making me more upset than I was before. So I almost feel like it's getting to this point where career is the only thing for him, and he doesn't have, but we'll see. I feel like that question, though, of business and pleasure is like the one thing that he can't, he's figuring it out with Princess Carolyn. So that's why it's so hard, because she doesn't want to be this guinea pig for him, She doesn't want to be like the one that he had to figure it out on, She wants a real romance and like real love, you know what I mean? And she,
but I think they established that earlier on, that she always knew that they never could have a romance.
Well,
their relationship,
that's a lie, though. That's a lie to herself to make her feel better, like when it fails. So she's like, well, I always knew I was wrong. Like I always knew I couldn't have this. I can't have things that make people happy. You know what I mean? She is just like Bojack in that way, where they're like, I don't deserve happiness, so I'm going to project that I didn't deserve it the whole time, so that when I don't get it, I'm not surprised. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. It's like sort of as like a self-sabotaging.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Tactic they both have, but at the same time, I never really sensed like a real love between the two. It was more just like I wouldn't say friendship. It was definitely a level above that, but they needed each other more professionally than any other way.
I don't know about that.
Like they satisfied each other.
More, you think more professionally than
like I wouldn't
friends?
say as a business, but I wouldn't say as a romance.
No,
Is
I don't
there
think
an in between?
I mean, I think they're friendship.
Yeah, I think it's just a friendship
because they have that moment in the freezer where she goes like, "Did you ever love me?"
Yeah.
And there's this really pregnant pause where he can't answer her because he doesn't want to hurt her. I feel like, and it's like he could lie to her to not hurt her and be like, yeah, of course I loved you. But she knows him and knows that wouldn't be genuine. So the fact that he's honest about his feelings, even though they are feelings that will hurt her feelings, I think are really important. Like,
I think it's just two people who know each other so well.
Yeah,
and it's
there's
like
nothing, you can't hide
there's that
anything.
comfort that you're with like your other half, your soulmate, so to speak, in a romantic and a platonic way.
Kind of. And I feel like even less of a soulmate thing and more of a friendship thing. It's just that
but soulmates can be friends. You can find a soulmate, a friend in a soulmate. You know what I mean? Like a soulmate is a sense of someone like you feel like you just you just know them really well, and could have been someone from. If you believe in the sense of previous life, like even if you had a next life, you would be friends with that next life, just because.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I feel like soulmate has like a really one-to-one connotation. So I'm just curious. Like the reason I'm reticent to say, oh yeah, totally soulmates, is just because I feel like, do Bojack and Carolyn know each other the best out of everyone in each other's lives? Maybe kind of, but we also have this episode coming up. We'll talk about with Sarah Lynn, where Sarah Lynn kind of feels like maybe a kindred spirit soulmate. To Bojack
you can have multiple soulmates. Soulmates like not like your only one mate. Soul is like the soul is connecting, and you can't find that connection with everyone. When you do, it could be toxic.
Certainly,
which is why their relationship's that way, and also his and Sarah Lynn. So
and they are so similar.
Soul like SOUL.
Not like SOLE.
Because
that's SOAL. How else can we spell soul?
SAUL, but that's more like Saul, like Saul. Better Call Saul.
Anyway.
Tweet at us.
Tweet at us about other ways to spell
if you really
Saul.
Care. So I mean, I love the setting just in the restaurant when their own relationship is obviously going into flames, and then the parallel of the whole restaurant literally going into flames, and the characters that we meet, literally Sandros.
Oh, I love Sandro.
I can't. When I read that Paul F. Tompkins was the voice, I was like, of course he
course
would
he
be
is.
doing an over-the-top Italian
A
accent.
ridiculous Italian silly
Alessandro,
stereotype.
how could you do this to me?
Yeah, it was so good. And I love that he just embraces the fact that he doesn't know phrases to, like, the misappropriate, these expressions, or whatever he says.
Right.
It's so funny.
It is. And I love how, like, again, we talked about in the beginning, actually before this after show, just saying, like, was it a good thing that Bojack, was it a good thing that Bojack made the decision of letting Princess Carolyn go? Because he was definitely headstrong on this. This wasn't something that Princess Carolyn could talk him out of. Yeah. He had his no cards ready, no matter how many times Princess Carolyn pleaded with him, as opposed to him having sex with her and letting it all just go back to normal. Do you think it was a mature decision on his part by saying, you know what, I think it's time for me to let toxic people out of my life, or whatever he thinks?
Gosh, I want to believe that he's being mature and moving forward and trying to be a better person, because obviously that's what he needs, is to, like, be better and to grow. But I feel like this decision of his comes more from a place of fear and from, like, you did a bad thing and, like, I'm in a bad place and I can't deal with any more bad, so I'm going to take it out on anyone around me that I can point to and be like, that's bad. Because that's what he does with himself, right? And we got a lot of that in the episode with the closer when he talks about everything to her. Talks about how, he he does things, he does bad things, so that when people eventually leave because of who he is, he can point to the thing and say, well, I did a bad thing, that's why they left. So I feel like this is that same thing, is he's trying to give himself a thing to point to, you know what I mean? And so it's,
he does blame
it's
other
not,
things, and
it's not real growth, because it's just him being like, well, you messed up, so now you gotta go. Like, I have control over this part of my life, and it's really just about him trying to, like,
accepting it,
grasp for control. You know what I mean?
It would have been stronger if he accepted it, still forgave her for whatever. She also made some mistakes, but it's like, again, she even made that point, one mistake in 23 years.
In 23 years, 23 years of fighting for him, and, like, she lays it all out way better than I could, obviously, but it's just about, like, she fought for him when no one else would, and now he's forsaking that fact, now that he, has a movie.
But it's also interesting, though, he made the comment to her when they were kind of getting at each other that, I don't like the way I make you feel. Like, you make me feel bad. So it's, again, she goes, oh, so it's not about me being a bad agent, it's about how you feel. So I think that kind of, like, does hit the core. Like, he just, he lets people out of his life. And we've touched upon this topic, too. Instead of hurting them, he just, like, forgets it and moves on and disassociates with himself with people who he could really just break them. Yeah. And he keeps saying, like, Princess Carolyn, you keep telling me you've wasted your 30s. I'm just done having anyone feel guilty by
that line,
or me feeling guilty,
Yeah, when he yells at her, he's like, oh, Bojack, you're a stupid idiot, blah, blah, blah. You wasted my 30s. He, like, lands it really hard. It's this really, and she goes, I never said that. And he goes, well, you thought it.
Yeah,
you thought
like,
it all
you don't
the time.
have to, because you say it all the time.
And that goes in, and then he goes on to say what the thing that you just mentioned, where he's like, I don't like the way that I make you feel. Yeah. I feel bad that I'm making you feel this way. Yeah. And it's just, like, you want to believe that there's some, like, nobility there, that he's like, like, I don't want to make my friend feel bad, but it's really about, I feel bad because you feel bad, because I'm making you feel bad. Yeah, it's just, I hope he's growing, but I don't think he is yet. I don't know if he's discovered that thing that really inspires him and makes him feel like he really wants to be a better person. Like, he tries little bits here and there, but, like, the most human he was, like, beyond the flawed human he is, the most real and happy and well-adjusted he was when it was that silent episode when he was taking care of that kid. You know what I mean? He like, put himself in harm's way for that kid. That kid was important. So I just feel like, I don't think he's growing.
It's not having strong parental figures in his life that makes him, I don't know, vulnerable to situations or weak or just not grounded. Yeah. So I never really considered Bojack to be bad, in my opinion.
He's not a bad dude.
Or, like, he needed to grow. It was more so he needed to find a purpose in life. Yeah. For him to feel like he's going somewhere, or he feels fulfilled, because he keeps replacing his lack of fulfillment with bad things like drugs, alcohol, sex.
Cool. Not all of those are bad. Anyway. Anyway. Don't think about that too long.
We love alcohol.
She picked that one.
I mean, alcohol could be like rubbing alcohol. Like,
for your wounds.
Yeah, come on. Literally, Bojack uses that for his wounds.
Yeah.
But anyways, the restaurant, I want to talk a little bit more about the restaurant too. Sandros, I mean, Bojack, obviously, Sandros felt like misheard Bojack
Right. Well, he was firing
him,
Carolyn,
and that
yeah.
was like, he turned into
He stormed out, and he took all the chefs in the kitchen with him.
The waiter had to become the chef. And then I love this donkey family.
Oh my God, the donkey
that
family.
took over. I mean, first of all, the mom took over as a waitress.
Yeah, can we just say that it was a strong, independent, single donkey mom.
Right?
Who didn't need no mayor.
No, and she, like, I love how she ordered her sons around about, like, get me that business room.
Yeah, and by the end of the episode, he's like,
Yay,
yeah, I got it. The business room. You got it. They're out. We're in. Yeah, it was perfect. Yay,
Like those little
merger.
Yay, corporate.
Yay, corporations.
Those are moments. And, you know, they got stuck in a situation where there's a critic, a food critic, very important food critic, which, by the
Played by Maria Bamford.
way, if you go to stephaniegoes-to-restaurants.tumblr.com, you will see this unusual looking website that I don't know who created. Shout out to you if you happen to be tuning into this for creating that. But there's an actual review of from Elefante.
From the restaurant, from the show.
Yeah, and I think the writer wrote something about how she liked the smell of the bathroom because it reminded her of her grandmother who died in a Japanese restaurant in the valley.
Part of me
I was
believes.
like, who are you?
Yeah. And you mentioned before the show
Yeah.
that you thought that was probably a fan-made site.
Yeah, I did.
I want to believe, because I haven't seen it yet,
I know.
want to believe in my heart of hearts that was totally either Maria Bamford herself or like someone from the show who was just like, we gotta make it. We mention it.
So
it's in the episode.
Strange. You'll have to check it out after. And also that scene when Princess Carolyn was driving away. I mean, they had to make the mushroom risotto, and Bojack's like, listen, enough. This is the reason why I've let you go. Stop trying to make it,
Stop trying to fix everything.
Yeah. But that's just her nature, and she's good at it.
Yeah,
like she keeps
sees
saying.
a problem, and she wants to, like, figure out how to make it work.
And she's in the car, and literally the song is like, don't go back, keep driving.
Who are these songs even for? Come on, Princess Carolyn. Or whatever. And you're just like, oh, come on.
But isn't that fun? Like, when you're in the car and you hear a song, don't you always think it's, like, written for you at that
You're
moment?
Like, oh, this is the most poignant thing I've ever heard.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like, if it so speaks to me, my God, I feel like this was written for me. And literally, I feel that way sometimes. So she goes back and she makes the risotto, and she opens up even more of her history, that she's the daughter of a former maid.
Yeah, interesting that she brings this up, but more, I guess it's not interesting that Bojack doesn't remember. It's more par for the course. But I thought it was such a fascinating story about how she's like pulled herself up by her bootstraps because her mom was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Interesting phrases. I always think it's such. Can I just say, like, she described her mom as she had a problem bending the elbow too much being her like term for drinking too much.
Right.
Which I was like, that's so fascinating. And just side thought, like, think of a time where you had to use weird euphemisms like that instead of just being like, oh,
I know.
they're an alcoholic.
Right?
You know what I mean?
It's like what more showing, not telling, right?
Yeah,
Which is a beautiful way of storytelling.
Yeah, it's very interesting, very colorful.
Definitely.
But, yeah, she talks about that, and I think it's just this really, man, it's so cool and indicative of who her character is.
And also what she's been through.
She tries to do it, yeah.
Right?
Yes. And why
making her way from that to an agent.
And why she's so willing and to hang on for so long. She's so willing to cling to a sinking ship because her family was a sinking ship. Her mom was like this alcoholic person. She literally had to say she bailed out all the time. So Bojack is the same thing. Bojack is that same kind of broken kind of guy that she, is used to taking care of.
Yeah. Anything else from this episode before we move on? I love the valet guy. I'll get it.
Oh, I love the valet guy. Yeah, and then
what animal was he? I couldn't.
He was like a corgi or some kind of dog.
Oh, he was a that makes sense. He had to be some sort of type of dog.
Yeah,
I'll get it.
Yeah, and then he starts
threw
throwing it for himself. Yeah, because of course.
I love that. That was so cute. There's also a fish in the bathroom stall. I wonder.
Oh, was it?
Do you think we'll find out who that is?
The girl in the bathroom stall I thought was so funny. I actually wrote that down. That's one of the things I was going to say. And I love that she's like, "Oh, I can help give you advice." And what makes you like ready to give advice? And she's like, "Oh, well, I was in Greece."
Pink. Yeah, I was the pink lady.
Who were you? It was Jan.
Not
even Rizzo?
Right.
Yeah. Rizzo's the only person she would have taken advice from in the bathroom. Well, okay, I get it.
Hey, she might reappear.
I loved the critic. I love the metaphor overall of Bojack and Carolyn having to save the night in the restaurant. working together this one last time. And I even really love the way that I also love that Bojack only remembers the third time that Princess Carolyn and he met.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I met you. That's the first time I met you. It was really cute. And she's like, that was the third time. The first time you were completely passed out and I had to like take you inside. So there's no rosy colored shades with Princess Carolyn. It's all real. Like she knows what he is.
Yeah.
And she still cares about him.
I know.
And still loved him. And I think that I think it's so tragic.
It
just
makes her
sucks
more.
so
It
much.
also makes her so much more humane and sensitive. I mean, to love people who are damaged and flawed, that's not like a person you go to in normal settings to someone who you can feel love from. I think it takes a real person, a big-hearted person, to see through that and really see someone's heart. You know what I mean?
I think so.
They're all really more big-hearted, and I think, in my opinion, we might be thinking, "Oh, are we watching the bad guys this whole time?" I don't think so.
Yeah.
There really no is such thing as a bad guy at all.
No, you're right.
That's going deeper.
I agree. We were being lib before, but
No. Meaning like, no, because that could be something that you see. Like, if you think about it, like everyone is flawed and layered. So it's like,
sure.
These days, it's not about like who's bad or good. I'm talking about in TV.
Right.
In TV.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like watching the bad guys or the good guys. It's like how they're depicted. They're depicted as like, I think, normal flawed. Like not flawed, but just
three-dimensional characters. Yeah.
You're three-dimensional, but
not so much.
Hurt characters.
Yeah, broken.
Yeah. Which
I get it.
people are unlucky or lucky to have that in their life. I was gonna make one more point, and I completely forgot. But we'll just. Oh yeah, Anna Spanakopita. There's definitely tension between Princess Carolyn and Anna.
A little bit.
And obviously we never talked about it, but it might resurface in the next season, in terms of like.
Princess Carolyn's ultimate feelings, you think, or?
I mean, against each other. Anna's always making these snide comments about like his shitty agent. She's saying like, "Who talked you into this in the first place?"
No, I agree.
That could...
I think I'm just curious. Do you even think Anna's gonna come back for the fourth season? Do you think?
Oh my god, I hope so.
I mean, I hope so too. But also, like, don't you think that they burnt that bridge pretty well, like with this episode or with this finale?
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of burnt it.
Really?
I mean, that's the way I feel, man. I don't know. Tweet at us if you think that
we'll
Angela
see.
Bassett's coming back. Or Angela Bassett, if you tweet at me and tell me if you're coming back. I want to know.
I'm coming.
We can
for
chat.
You, Andrew.
Oh my god.
I'm coming.
Oh god, Angela Bassett. You're so terrifying.
Wait, what was it in this episode when she was like, "How'd you get my number? Who? Explain yourself."
Yeah, that's
Was
her voicemail. This is Anna Spanakopita. Explain how you got this number. Like,
who gave you this number? Explain yourself.
I immediately wanted to change my voicemail to that.
Right?
That's really funny.
I think it was in a later episode, but we have like a few more minutes. Not a few more minutes, but let's.
Hurry. We have 3 more episodes.
I know. Let's rush through this. At least for the next episode. That's what I mean. It's You, episode 10.
Oh, this episode.
And definitely is the start of him losing all connections. So we get good news for Bojack Horseman that he has an Oscar nomination.
Right.
Bad news is he doesn't actually have an Oscar nomination.
Right.
Sorry, Bojack, but he said he felt the same when he found out.
Yeah, exactly. He says he feels the same after he gets nominated. So it's like, it didn't solve it for him. It didn't check the box of happiness. It's not that easy. So I feel like he's getting more and more disillusioned, and he's burning all these bridges. I feel like something big is going to change. Like, something big has to change. Because he's been making these really baby steps of change. Like, oh, I'm going to get a boat. And then nothing really changes.
Yeah.
He's still kind of doing the same wacky antics. And we'll talk more about where this is headed. But I feel like there's a big change coming.
Yeah. But then he starts to kind of have, like, I mean, at least Diane, when he has his big rager in his house. Mm-hmm. Talk about that rager for a second.
Right. Oh, my God. The chili cheese fountain. That was so disgusting and amazing.
That was amazing.
Oh, my God.
All these, like, the big giant chocolate Oscar, David Guetta, apparently.
Of course. Driving that Tesla into the pool. Yeah. Because, you get a free Tesla when you're nominated.
When you're on, yeah. I think I forgot the line that he said, but yeah, Tesla, he was just with people, with complete strangers.
Right.
And I love, in this episode and then also in the next episode, we'd see kind of like a shift of the relationship between Bojack and Diane.
Right.
Because at first she also knows him so well.
Right.
And he mentions in the next episode too about how she's been kind of distant. And we've definitely seen a distance between him, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Diane. And I realized I missed that. Like, I want to see them again together. Even though he wasn't a huge fan of Mr. Peanut Butter.
Oh, I'm a huge Mr. Peanut Butter fan.
But he's grounded, at least. A little bit.
And Mr. Peanut Butter is a little bit like the Ned Flanders to the Homer Simpson of Bojack, in that he like forces him to do certain things or to feel friendship or to do friendship related oriented like activities and things. So I feel like it's this opportunity for him to like have a real genuine person who's really like, in this episode he falls in the pool. Who gets him out of the pool? Mr. Peanut Butter.
And just like in the opening sequence, I thought we would have never seen that scene, right?
Yeah, it kind of puts context to that opening sequence. That opening sequence is many different like times, but it's also this general like party. Like it seems like it's just showing how Bojack is constantly drowning in his own mistakes misery,
and sins,
depression.
And he does have friends to help him, but he's gonna soon lose all of that if he doesn't better himself. So Diane comes, and she's the only true friend of that party.
Right.
And she goes like, I want to know how you actually are, because I know how you respond to happiness. And she also kind of gets under her skin by saying, you're not doing what you should be doing.
Yeah, and he tells her that she fetishizes her own sadness, which is like, it's also a very like pot calling the kettle black kind of thing. Like,
that's what Anna told Bojack too.
Yeah,
which is interesting. And then Bojack told Diane.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, Bojack's not the kind of guy that you want to get advice about being happy from, you know, or being yourself. True.
But it did lead her to think later on when she was at the restaurant, I think, with Roxy. And she was complaining about all of this and started complaining about the drought in California and how it's illegal to not ask if someone wants water.
Right.
I actually did not know that.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like that's just an annoying
I was like, is that true or not? Well, then I kind of got with her on her side. I was like, you know what?
Yeah, we are in a drought though.
Like we
actually?
No, but we
but
actually are. But like actually
we're like actually in a drought though.
But like actually. And
here
I am sipping on this.
So yeah, no, I totally agree. She that she latches onto those causes, I feel like, to distract from her internal like thoughts about this, because she's having problems with Mr. Peanut Butter kind of in their communication. I guess they're getting better. It felt like they were getting better, even though there's kind of this looming idea of them breaking up, I think, throughout like this theme of it throughout this season.
There's going to be an interesting tension between them, which we'll get into, but because of the end of episode 12, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, there could be that looming thing. I don't want to jump around too much, but I want to say something that Anna said in the beginning about her story about drowning.
What a crazy, intense story, by the way.
And I love the flashback animation.
Oh, me too. It's terrifying. It's like this pretty watercolor, like really light watercolors. Yeah, it's cool.
More cartoony, if you will, if that makes sense.
Which is so funny because we're watching a cartoon.
Right. But there's different forms of animation, which I love. Yeah. And there's also the flashback scene of Ralph Stinton too. That was a whole other different type of animation. So we can go over that at the end of the episode. But I like those two dynamics. But I mean, she made a great point. Like, obviously, you know, swim to the top, but breathe. It's gonna help you relax and find out the answers.
When you don't know what to do.
Breathe. Literally, it helps.
That is the answer, yeah.
And then let's talk about Mr. Peanut Butter and Todd.
Yes. So this episode is largely about how they lose the envelope and then basically make up all of the nominees. So that's hilarious. I love it.
Hilarious.
I mean,
because who to know, it could have been done before. Maybe it has.
I mean,
in a way.
What if it's been done every year?
Maybe not how it's been done, but how people choose who should be nominated. They literally gave Jennifer Lawrence 6 nominations.
Yeah, and they were like, Daniel Day-Lewis for sound, right?
He was nominated for something.
He makes sounds, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Or whatever, yeah. Like, sure. So, yeah, it just kind of, I mean, this whole
it speaks to the Oscar race.
Skewers
totally.
It so hard. It's just like, look at these incompetent jerks. What is their criteria even? Nothing? Seems like nothing.
Yeah. But I love how Mr. Peanut Butter got the news too over the phone that he's hosting the Oscar nominations, not the Oscars, and his brother, who got his twisted spleen removed. Congratulations, Weird Al.
Yay. Weird Al will see more in the future.
Yes. Was always like, had, gung-ho for Mr. Peanut Butter to decide. And I love how we get a Jimmy Fallon appearance.
Oh, gosh. And he gets hit by the bus. Yeah.
Because he's an accident-prone guy.
Yeah, it's true. Has he been hit by a bus before?
He's broken his wrist I think both of his hands. He's
Huh.
he has a story behind him that people reported on, that he always seems to get drunk a lot, and then
Jimmy.
and then he gets really, he's an
breaks his
accident prone
wrists.
guy.
All
Yeah,
right.
he breaks a lot. But he was taking a selfie while he was breaking it, which
Of course he
selfie
was.
has killed people in the past.
Jimmy, be safe.
It was an interesting, I guess.
Don't
reference.
kill yourself, buddy.
Well, everyone who takes selfies, it's killed a lot of people. Weirdly. And yeah, so they lose the envelope, and we also get a sense while they were deciding who should be nominated, like 10 minutes later, they're like, oh, maybe Bojack.
Yeah, and Todd is pretty against it because of the way that he feels right now about how Bojack's been acting. Emily has told him, like, something went on with Bojack. I don't think Bojack's been a good friend to you. And he has this, he doesn't know exactly what it is, but he has a bad feeling about it, which we get to at the end of this episode where they finally confront it. He goes, oh, you know about Emily? And he's like, well, yeah, kind of. And he goes, so, you know, we slept together. And he's like, what? You what? No, I didn't know that. I thought you just told her a terrible story and bummed her out.
I thought he would have some sort of inkling as to see it, but he really, I guess, didn't think it would come to that.
Yeah, and this is the only time.
Because they were so working on themselves, on their relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Bojack was like, he gets really, when we first start talking about how he slept with Emily in the episode with the closer, he talks about how good they are, how good he and Todd are. So it's so frustrating and shitty to see how, like, they basically aren't, and he's just kind of, he's not willing to, like, own up to things or be real with him. And it sucks, man. Like, Todd's last line of the show is, fuck, man, what else is there to say? And it's so it's so real.
Didn't it bring you back to those Aaron Paul days when he was like, I mean, of Todd, we've never seen Todd
say something that was really poignant.
Yeah, it just hit the mark.
It hit it so hard.
It's like, stop blaming everything else. It's you that's screwing everything up.
Feeling bad about yourself does not make this
No,
better.
No, it doesn't. It was
you can
it
only
was
do
a
so many
moment
shitty
for
things.
Todd. Like, he's had enough.
Yeah.
No matter how many times he's slept on the couch, it's not like that. That's nothing compared to the damage Bojack has done on Todd.
I mean,
and his
just
past and everyone else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I totally agree.
It's sad because it's like such a reversal of, like, when you think back to the first season when Todd meets Bojack and how gung-ho he was and looked up to him like an older brother in a way.
Absolutely.
And it's like sometimes you need to have a lecture or a reawakening from someone who was with you through this whole time. But
Yeah.
I just hope that they can reconcile. We hope that all the relationships reconcile, right?
Yeah. I got a lot of feeling. Do you remember the episode from season 1 with Stanley Tucci? I forget the name of the character, but Stanley Tucci plays his, like, partner who has cancer, and he goes to, like, he goes to reconcile with him, right?
Yeah.
And he basically says, no, I'm not going to be a prop for you to feel better about. Like, I'm going to die not feeling good about you, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life. This is that moment where someone who has no other words anymore just basically says, no, listen, you're being shitty and you can't anymore. I won't take it.
Yeah. You can't have a way out this time.
Right. And it's these people who have invested so much time and energy and love into this guy and just need to be terse with him and be like, dude, we can't help you unless you're going to help yourself, man.
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah. I feel like it's important as friends to look out for each other and really have each other's back, and real friends that have each other's back tell each other when they're being shitty. So I feel like Bojack can't take that. He always takes it so personally. He's like, well, they hate me or whatever. And it's just really like, dude, we're trying to tell you how not to make
it was
yourself
kind of like
feel alone. Like,
in the last episode when Princess Carolyn's like, you can't even take an insult, and when she tries complimenting him, he still takes it as an insult. He perceives things.
He's still impossible.
Yeah, he perceives things really differently on a different level. Like, he's always feeling that people are attacking him, maybe, or criticizing him. He doesn't know how to deal with people being blunt and telling him how to improve his life.
Yeah,
because
all
he
goes
doesn't
back
want
to his mom.
Yeah,
always criticizing him. So that's the first thing that he thinks of is like, what judgment of me?
Judgment, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, when you're in that industry too, it's like that's true. You're surrounded by people wanting to. You want to be loved, like for example, when Ethan didn't call him for the Bojack Ethan around.
He was so offended.
It's not like he was gonna do it, but he's like, I still want to be known
the right to
and
refusal.
loved.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I'm not gonna do it, I want to be loved and known. That's just like a lot of people in Hollywood too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Also, Princess. Yeah, what were you
I
saying?
was just gonna say, like, that's such an astute observation, because I feel like that is this show. This show is
It is the show.
It's an examination about how fame affects a person, and whether or not it's possible to even be happy after you give up your life to entertaining people for your job.
Yeah, there was some quote about how it's like, wow, I made it to the top. I'm a hero, but I wish I was at the bottom, the start of it all, when things were so, and like possibilities were endless and the life seemed so, I don't know. I forgot how the quote went, but something like that. Like, you think you're working your way to the top so much, but when you're there, you're like, this is it?
Yeah, exactly.
What did I come here for? What am I doing? I don't know. It's like really self-questioning.
Perspective. It's all perspective.
But then again, it's also about like he needs a family, which hopefully he gets soon.
Yeah, it does feel like,
I feel like family is grounded. Having a relationship, whether it's a husband or wife or a kid, it's like something worth living for because you're.
So we're getting towards this, so I'm just gonna say it because
Yeah.
I feel like we're walking around it, but
Yeah.
we have this show about Horsing Around is clearly about how Bojack plays a father to the kids, to these orphaned kids, gives them love, gives them a home, etc., and it's wacky. But it's about fatherhood that Bojack has no idea about. Bojack has no idea what parental love is actually about. He like, even in this next episode we're about to talk about, Sarah Lynn is like, yeah, you misbehaved yourself with me and I turned out fine. And like, no, she didn't. But also, like, he has misbehaved himself with like every woman he's ever met. He doesn't have that paternal, like, no, I think of her like a sister thing about any women at all. So the opportunity for him to find out what that real love is, the love of like a brother, the love of, you know what I mean? Like, he's gonna need like a kid to figure that out. He started to figure it out in the silent episode with that baby seahorse. And so I feel like we need to see him grow through finding out other kinds of love, that unconditional, like, it will die without me love.
He's definitely not portrayed as obviously a good father figure. He feels with that. With Penny, he tried, and with Sarah Lynn. And...
I mean, with Penny, yeah. I mean, did he even try, or did it, like, there's this element, yeah.
He could have, because
he has the whole internal monologue, because we know that he wanted to do the right thing, but we also know that he might not have.
Yeah.
He was like, would I have stopped? I don't think I would. And he thinks that out loud for us.
Yeah, he does.
So that, you know, maybe that's his vision of himself, like being a worse person than he is. But maybe it's not. Maybe he's real with us in that moment, and he's like, no, I would have had sex with that girl, and it would have haunted me forever.
Again, it's like he wants to destroy himself.
Nope.
And he says what he said in the last episode of Princess Carolyn, like, you want to come rescue me from that. Like, he's always in this, which is like that mommy. Oedipal complex logic that you pointed out. Yeah. That, but also just someone to always come rescue him and literally take him out of the pool.
Right, someone to bail him out, someone to, exactly, to take him out of the pool.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
Before we wrap up this episode, Princess Carolyn, again, she's moving on, and I like how Judah said, you know what, maybe this is time for you to live your other 8 lives, which was sweet. But I'm surprised he didn't tell her about the merger deal with...
the frog.
The frog guy.
Frogman, maybe? No. It's probably not.
What's it called?
I don't remember.
The agency name.
Don't worry about it too much.
Okay. It's bothering me. Like, I know it's Vigor.
There you go. Oh, that's right, because she's Vim, right?
Yeah,
Vim and Vigor.
Why did he tell her, you think?
Well, I mean, in my mind, it's one of two things. We're getting into predictions a little bit, but it's one of two things. It's either that he cares about her so much that he wants to make it a surprise, and he wants to be like, look, I've done great for our business, and in fact, look, we're better than we thought we were. Right. Or... which I'm hoping it's not. It's well, she's going to spread her wings and do her thing. I'm going to spread my wings and do mine, which is fine.
Interesting.
Which is fine, because he's an entrepreneurial young man. And if she's making the transition to managers, which we'll talk about again in a minute, like, then that's a whole nother business.
Yeah.
And she's not quite doing the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I like how she called up Ralph, and I like that his made-up story was just a made-up story, which was...
Oh, so cute.
Funny
I
thing
love
that
that story.
happened, right?
Oh, my God. She twisted her ankle, and then we eloped, and none of that's true. None of that's true, by the way. I think about you all the time. I'd love to meet up.
I love that. Was so cute. I mean, like, I love their relationship. I mean, he might be a little bit too much of a good guy, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, he doesn't even seem like that goody of a guy. He just seems like a cool dude. I don't know. I really like him.
Yeah, we'll see. There was one scene
You're like,
that
I'm not convinced.
no, I'm never
we'll see.
convinced.
Jury's
Anything
out on
else? Right. Anything else from? Oh, this was the episode when Anna's voicemail said that. I like how when that guy was like Bradley Cooper, we love him for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
At the Oscars, I also loved how I think Captain Peanut Butter was like, well, we only have one doctor on the second opinion.
I can ask him twice.
I can ask him twice if you want. That crazy.
Super cute. Yeah.
I love them.
I love those characters. Like the whole Labrador family are just those sweet and simple kind of people.
And so innocent and naive. Like anything they say is just like, no, but I still love you anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take like a really quick minute break before we get into episode 11 and 12. So don't go anywhere.
Want to find out what the AFTERBUZZ is about?
Janice is a drama queen.
This is the divide that is going to carry the series.
Give us a call at 347-855-8269.
This television, and they want it to be as dramatic as possible.
I mean, it's Shakespearean.
You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Get in on the AFTERBUZZ.
347-855-8269.
Now, in the eyes of Jimmy, Nucky is a villain.
Listen on iTunes.
Who would you guys rather hear that from?
Find us on Facebook.
Your husband or your best friend?
Follow us on Twitter.
And she's trying to kill him, so it justifies it. I'm like, oh, now it makes sense.
And visit us at AfterBuzzTV.com.
The wig will come off. That wig come off, baby.
Boardwalk Empire.
Desperate Housewives.
Glee.
Gossip Girl.
Breaking Bad.
Mad Men.
True Blood.
The Walking Dead.
Big Love.
Jersey Shore.
The Oscars.
Celebrity Rehab.
The Emmys. If it's hot, you can bet we'll be buzzing about it.
Okay, back with episode 11. That's too much, man. This was sad.
This was a very sad episode. It was a very real episode. Ironic that the most human show out there right now is about a cartoon horse. But that said, there's a lot that happens in this episode that is awesome. It's
But
basically.
when you think of Sarah Lynn, though, do you think of her as like? Do you think they hit on child stars in Hollywood so well?
In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, they talk about how she says, you know, I was 3, I didn't know what I was getting into. She talks a lot because this is an episode. Let's just brief it. Is them on a bender? Is them just doing all the drugs? She's like, oh, what is it? She's like 9 months sober or something.
Yeah.
6 months sober, and she's like crossing it off on her calendar as Bojack calls and is like, you want to get messed up or you want to party?
Well, literally, we see her waking up in this. I thought of Beauty and the Beast.
It's very Disney.
Like, hello,
Very,
hello,
yeah.
and like she's so clean, making her smooth, whatever juices.
With acai berries or acai berries or however you say them.
Oh yeah, and then one phone call just gets her spinning as if she was waiting for it.
Right.
Which is
And she even rips down the calendar, and behind the calendar are the bottles of vodka and liquor and everything, and she just starts pounding them immediately.
9 months is like literally almost a year of being so good and sober. It's just like. That made me cringe a little bit.
It is intense. She does mention earlier, though, like in an earlier episode, that
All I
she's
needed
basically
someone to call me up and say that, right? Remember she said that? Like,
that
all I
too.
needed something.
But she also said that she was basically only being sober because once you start doing drugs again, it's really great.
Yes.
Like, so you're like, yeah. So I took
She
the
was
whole,
waiting for the day to
right,
do
to have the most
them
fun,
again.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we get their bender.
Mm-hmm.
We go to the AA where they basically listen to a couple stories from people before Bojack takes it over, and we start hearing about Penny. We start hearing about just how he feels about his life. That moment where he tells the story of Penny and how he he's like, oh yeah, well, here's what happened, and he's so messed up on drugs. And
I love how, like, first of all, he kept having like Because when they first started doing it, she was like ripping off the walls in the house and saying, I have Vicodin, covered Vicodins, and like it was her house was covered with drugs.
Yeah.
She looked at painting of elephant.
She smashed open a pot and there was like, there's some crystal meth in there.
Yeah, so they were going crazy and they were watching also shows of horsing around. But Bojack kept having his blackouts, which was really scary.
Really
by the
time
way.
skips. Yeah, he would just miss pieces of
Which
what
actually
they had just
happens.
done.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's scary. So the next thing you know,
Terrifying.
they wake up at he wakes up more so at the AA meeting. He's kind of like one-upping these
Yes.
alcoholics. Like, oh, please, I do this stuff soberly. Let me tell you a real story.
Yeah, and Sarah Lynn even says as they're driving away, like, I'm not I'm not as proud of everything I've done as you are. You know, like he is very like adamant and aggressive, which brought up an idea to me. Does Bojack enjoy being messed up? Like, does he take, because there is this sense of like,
It's a self-defense. It's like an insecurity, I think.
Right. Maybe he fetishizes his own sadness. You know,
Yeah.
he threw that at Diane. Maybe that's because that's the way he feels.
Oh, yeah.
When he's sad, it's when he gets the most attention from Princess Carolyn, who will give him sex or whatever, or from, Todd, who's like, yeah, buddy, let's do a thing, or from Mr. Peanut Butter, who also does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, is it all just a ploy to get attention? Does he keep making himself sad? Does he keep making himself miserable? Mm-hmm. Because he just needs, like, a friend.
Yeah.
Bojack. Killing me, man. You're
Yeah, I
killing
think
me.
it's like I think
Right?
it's like,
This whole show is
it's
just
filling
come on,
it's
Bojack.
filling a hole with things like he thinks will make him feel better. Like literally, I keep bringing up, I don't know why, episode 9, but when he was in the flashback scene, he's like, I tried feeling better with piles of pizza, then I tried, washing it down with pick-me-up liquor. Like, again, it's like it's a metaphor for these things he tries with bad food, junk
Absolutely.
food, or whatever, to like fill this hole, but it's never gonna get filled. It's just gonna keep going through.
Yeah, and I mean, it's him trying to check these boxes of happiness. He thinks happiness is literally like, oh, I'm just going to check this box, and then from then on, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And it just does not work that way.
But I think you're right. And there is a certain small part of him that he does like carry off this cool vibe. Like, I'm Bojack Horseman, no one can mess with me.
Yeah.
I've done all this stuff, whatever. So there's a small part of him that makes him think he's better than a lot of people in the room he's with. Makes him feel like he's above. So he does kind of pride himself on these accomplishments that he calls it. But again, it's also when people are so flaunting about it, it's because of a high level of insecurity that they have. Like, I know I sometimes get like that. Like, if I don't know I don't have it, I kind of like make up for it by saying I do. I can't really think of a specific example, but I think it's like a humanly natural thing for us to do. But he does it to obviously a more deeper, higher
Extent.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree.
Am I making sense? This show couldn't kind of get you tongue twisted because there's so many complexities. Is that a real
It's
word?
a very complexities is totally a word. Yeah,
I like
there's
how
a lot to
Andrew is always validating my vocabulary skills.
Yeah.
And my pronunciation
It's good.
skills.
It's good. You got good
Even
words.
though it's a weakness of mine that has the T's.
There's good words. There's good words coming from your mouth. It's good.
Thank you. I need
But,
insecurities, people.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about something that Princess Carolyn says in episode 9 about this, because we keep coming back because
I know that was.
it's a very revealing flashback that we get, because we get the idea. So, and what I was gonna say is this: so Princess Carolyn reveals to Bojack that the first time she met him, she saw a taping of the show, and it was a
second time, right?
No, this is the first time. The first time.
I thought the first time
oh,
she
you're
was
right, you're
hosing
right,
him
right.
down.
You're right. You're totally right. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
No, you're fine.
So on the second time she meets him, she goes to the taping of the show. She goes to see him afterwards, and what he says to her, he's like, "Oh, was I nice?" And she goes, "No, you said you're too tired to be nice, and to leave you alone." And he says he's sorry, but then she goes, "No, you don't need to be sorry because it's you protecting yourself. You don't know who your friends are. You are a celebrity. You don't know why people are talking to you unless they want something, and a lot of times they do. So it's hard for you to like even comprehend the idea of a person just coming to you and being a person. So that's where Bojack is. That's where he lives. That's this problem of him. He doesn't have any real friends. That party scene in 9 is also, or it was 9 in 10.
Yeah.
No, 9. In one of these episodes.
No, 10. The party scene? 10. 10.
Okay, 10.
Yeah.
So the party scene is also indicative of that, where it's just like, okay, he surrounds himself with all of these people so he can feel not alone, but they ultimately make him feel more alone than anything.
Yeah, I know.
Another exasperated sigh.
Yeah, another sign, another true testament also to Hollywood, the
Mm-hmm.
industry, which I can't keep. I don't want to keep shitting on it, but it's like, just like the way.
No, and I mean, we're not shitting at it. We're more.
It's not like it's the industry.
we're
It's just like the
analyzing
way
it.
you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the actors who have made it, so to speak, feel this way too. It's like a constant. I don't know. Like you're always trying to entertain, but then for what? And who really does genuinely like you
Right.
as a person? Remember, we even talked about it. Like everyone loves you, but who really likes you? Right.
Exactly. That's the line from the episode with the wedding. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, Sarah Lynn's like, I usually just make amends for my past problems. So they just go on this amender,
yeah.
on first Todd, who happens to be like a little boy who the parents are like, this could be our big break.
Oh, I know. That was so creepy. Your parents are starting to really creep me out, Todd. You gotta get out of here. Yeah. That was super weird. But yeah, just him trying desperately to like make amends with people.
That was weird.
And, like,
then he tried with Anna, and he had to keep coming back because she could not finish the story.
Well, she finished the story. He just did not remember.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was super frustrating. And then the third time he goes back to her, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you."
It was like
It was
2 weeks
It was 2
later.
weeks later.
Kind of
This
scary.
episode is terrifying to me.
It's scary.
because we don't have a great semblance of how long this bender is.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Because the announcements were like in January and the Oscars were in February. I had to look that
right.
up. So they've been on this for 6 weeks, over a month. You know how freaky that is?
That's terrifying. That's a long bender. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because what we're getting to is when they finally find the Bojack in the glove compartment and snort all the heroin. Because that seems like a good idea.
Yeah, so before that, they go with Anna and then they go to Ohio.
Yeah, they go all the way to Ohio and they see...
Because he wants to know what he did to Penny.
Right.
Is she, like, tragic,
Is she traumatized?
Traumatized by this.
Yeah.
She seems fine, but he still wants to have the excuse, like he wants to meet her up front.
And he's out of his mind, so he stumbles around, knocks people over, makes a scene, and she sees him.
I love how
and
they
she's
were at the
not ready.
party, and the sign says, "You're still at Oberlin."
Yeah.
Did you catch it? That was so funny.
Yeah, just in case you didn't know where you were in this universe.
Yeah, you're still at Oberlin. And she seems to be fine. I mean, she's like, buddying it up with the a cappella group.
Right, she seems like a normal, well-adjusted person.
But then her face when she sees Bojack is just like,
She
I
starts
just got
stammering.
over you. Like, what are you doing back here?
You can't be here.
Yeah. I mean, Sarah Lynn got it off on the note, like, her wound opened up the minute you saw her, but she was doing just fine.
she
So
just
now she's going to have to do it,
Sarah Lynn just tears right into Bojack, too, in that car ride home, where he's just, like, feeling as bad as he could possibly feel. And
Yeah.
she's like, it was really like you scarred, or like, you destroyed her life twice.
Yeah.
Good job,
So
Lily.
I don't know if that will resurface, but
Well, yeah, Penny has
Meaning-
to come back. Like, this, I mean, the story of Penny
Yeah,
and what
it's
he's
not
done
over,
to that
right?
family. I mean, the question, he asked that question in the AA meeting. He's like, did I ruin her life? Did I break up that family? I don't know. I want to know. Like,
yeah, which is what led them to Ohio, which I thought he would get closure finally, but no, in this whole season.
do they still live in New Mexico or wherever they lived? I don't know. Let's find out.
Right.
Celebrities? Yeah. What do they know? Do they know things? Let's find out.
Good reference. He also went to Carolyn's house.
Yeah, Carolyn, and did the, like, what is that? The John Cusack movie
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
Say Anything?
Yeah,
Where he held the
yeah.
where he's just like, Princess Carolyn, just, like, screaming for her. and then the
she's with
guy
Val. Yeah.
comes in. Let's go.
And what about with Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter? How they
That was
mimic
so
them?
weird. Yeah, it was so stupid and weird. Like, she's just so out of her
Like,
mind
who
on
is
drugs.
Diane? Is she the Asian Daria?
She the Asian Daria? Pretty sure. Yeah, but yeah. I know she's her own person, but she's
Now,
basically
I never
Asian
saw
Daria, right?
that cartoon.
You never watched Daria? Daria was the show. It was a great show.
I know. I need
You
to
would
see
really
that.
like
Would
Daria.
I?
You would, actually.
Oh.
It was like, and it would have been. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into how great Daria is, but it was like it's like a perfect age thing for you when it came out, and you'd probably love it like in retro.
Oh.
Anyway,
Maybe I'll check that out.
Daria's great. Watch it, guys.
Watch
and then
it.
let's talk about it on the Twitter.
And then that's what leads them to find the heroine, which, by the way, is amazing in Sarah Lynn's eyes because there's
It's
Billy
named
Crystal Meth, and there's also, what were the other ones? I didn't write them down,
gosh.
but was there a John Cusack one?
No. It was Billy Crystal.
It was a
Meth.
woman. I forgot the woman.
Oh, yeah, I'm forgetting them now. Billy Crystal Meth was the best one.
Yeah, that was the best one because
Yeah.
it was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly. So I love how Bojack was like, let's be adults and snort this instead
Yeah.
of shoot it up. I'm not going to shoot this. Let's snort it.
Yeah.
And this leads to a really, I don't know, emotional scene when they wake up in the motel and Sarah Lynn she won an Oscar. And
Yeah.
she's like, my God, if you had told me when I was younger I'd win an Oscar, I would have not believed you. And here I am. I could have been there. Like, the whole red carpet. I mean, the red carpet life is glamorous. It is like a dream fairy tale. And
Yeah.
every actress, especially for someone who's worked so hard in the industry, dreams of that moment. And that moment was indirectly taken away from her by Bojack, who tried to forget the moment that he didn't receive it.
Right.
So it was such a, I don't know, a tragic parallel. And it was sad because I wish he went to the Oscars.
Yeah, and we also get the flashbacks in this episode and in the last episode about how he wanted to approach Sarah Lynn to be on the Bojack Horseman show.
That was the next episode.
That was the next episode?
The beginning
Okay.
of the next episode,
Yeah.
but I know what you mean. You could talk about it now. Why
Well,
not?
there's that moment in this last one where he has that weird flashback with Mr. Cuddly Whiskers, or Cuddly Whiskers.
Yes.
And then they kind of briefly touch upon it, like, oh, you could talk to her.
Which is what brings us to the next episode.
Right.
Let's talk about that flashback scene before we get to the ending
Where
of
he's
this
just
episode.
tripping real hard.
It was
It's like
kinda
as soon as he
strange.
starts
It was
snorting the Bojack.
It was like an Inception kind of thing because
Absolutely.
they were in the flashback.
Oh, it was so funny, and
she
they were
was
talking
like,
about meta jokes. And
meta humor and about how audiences don't like when like the the walls are moving and the walls started moving
Right.
and I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like ooh, I was like, how do I put my finger on this?
And
Like,
it
how do
would
I
have been-
explain this?
It would have been a great episode to be on a bender during. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they were like, oh, have Sarah Lynn be the guest star, which she was in this whole episode.
Right.
Everyone loves a guest star, so it was kind of really a
Absolutely.
showception.
That's yeah.
you know
They
what
do
I
a great
mean?
job of that. I totally agree.
Great addition. So we also see Wiz Khalifa, who was played by Wiz Khalifa.
Was he?
Yeah.
Great.
I
I'm
looked
so
it up
glad.
on IMDb. Right? He probably always did like a voice. He sent over
I
his
hope
voice.
Wiz Khalifa
but-
was just like, hey, I want to be in this Bojack show. Can someone make that happen? No, not as a character, just as me.
right.
And they're just like, all right, cool.
Sure.
Whatever you want.
I think we don't
You're
give
Wiz
enough
Khalifa.
credit on the animators, but the animators are amazing.
I
mean,
totally-
they
yeah.
could easily like leave things alone, not clean things up. But Diane had a wrist brace the whole time.
Yeah.
Bojack's house was messed up the whole time. They didn't clean it up like normal cartoons. I love the animation.
Awesome continuity. No, I totally agree.
Awesome.
One of the things I also really love about this animation style is that when you watch Bojack Horseman, Bojack is not like a one-tone brown. Like when you watch it, it's this like really intense, weird, hard to explain textured
That's
color.
a good point.
Where he looks, yeah, and like sure, a lot of the background, like sure, it's just green, and different
Right.
colors of green and stuff. But like when you're looking at the characters, they're all very nuanced and detailed, and like
Yeah.
there's like really subtle like imperfections,
There
quote unquote.
is.
Huh, you guys? Breaking it down.
Yeah, even with the eyes, sometimes they make certain eye gestures or smiles, and it's like hard to notice at first, but that makes a huge difference in the overall
Yeah.
scene.
No, absolutely. I
and
think
the
there's a lot of
character. Mm-hmm.
subtlety in the animation here. Hats off to you, animators.
No, yeah, I definitely. And Sarah Lynn also, when she receives the Oscar on the TV, and also too, like watching it in
The bear.
that dark motel was so creepy. I don't know why I felt the heebie-jeebies watching that scene.
No,
Anyone
I
else
get
did?
it. I mean, no, I get it. It's like that's the scene. Like that dark motel is the place where overdoses are going to happen, or someone's going to kill themselves, or like
But
it's
when
the
she-
darkest setting.
When she makes that comment, like, "Am I doomed?" It's like, yeah,
Yep.
she was. Mm-hmm. Like I could have cried, but and it's so sweet because Bojack was like, all right, let's go to the planetarium where she was wanting to go, and we hear Neil deGrasse
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Tyson's
Yeah.
voiceover, and we see the beautiful vision, and Bojack makes a pretty reflective comment on how, you know, Sarah Lynn, when you're not doomed. Like, these are just small moments in the grand scheme of things of this billion of years that we have, and you have to just enjoy the moments like this one, Sarah Lynn.
Yeah.
Sarah Lynn. And all she wanted to do was be an architect.
Yeah.
But not really. She wanted to be a detective.
Yeah.
During the day and a call girl at night without somehow an architect.
When do you have time to actually architect? Yeah.
And I want to comment also on how do you pronounce her name? Kristen Schaal or
Shaw.
Shaw. I mean, obviously we've seen her in multiple Bob's Burgers and other. But what a voice for this character, for this show.
Yeah.
She'll be missed, but like she's genius.
Yeah, she's amazing.
In her capture, right?
Mm-hmm. I like her a lot, Kristen Shaw. You're wonderful.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this unfortunate episode?
I mean, it's a beautiful episode in so many ways, and I think there's that moment where Anna is telling him that story about the like almost drowning, and when we finally get back to the story, she goes, like, sometimes there are people you can't save, and they'll just drag you down with them. And Bojack is like, what does that have to do with me? Because he just doesn't get it. So I mean, I think that there's got to be a point at which he has to stop sinking or die. Like, there's no other direction for him to go. He's still going down, and it's just we got to find that bottom soon. Because Bojack, oh man, Bojack.
Yeah, I mean,
buddy.
Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom.
Right.
Like, you have to just let go of everything,
Yeah, I know. I just love Bojack so much. I don't want to have to see him hit rock bottom, but he's going there. We haven't hit it yet. I don't think.
No, not rock bottom.
Sadly. All right.
So let's go into that went well.
Yes. Our finale.
Oh my god, it's the finale.
What? But already? In the show?
Everyone's like done with it since we all.
Come on.
Netflix just makes us forget that,
Yeah.
We can watch it all in one day.
Yeah.
We're in the binge generation.
I get it. Binging is good.
Binging is cool.
Why not?
Why not? Netflix says so. So we get another flashback to 2007, and this is where we see Sarah Lynn. Great for her, music at a concert, but she doesn't know how to like take this fame, and she's like, "I'm smelling, but there's a light inside me that's dying right now."
Right.
And there's people approaching her for things like
Everyone
be in my
wants
script.
something.
Yeah,
Yes.
everyone wants something, and she's like, that's why she was relieved to see Bojack. Like, I
Yeah, at
haven't
the
seen
concert.
a friend.
So excited just to see someone who cares about her as a person. And then the moment he brings out that script and is like, what do you think about maybe? She's like, oh, yeah, put it on the pile with the rest. Like, it's very heartbreaking.
It
and
is.
It's this moment where you wonder, because Bojack clearly has this innate connection with her, do you wonder how much she feels that connection with him, or felt that connection with him, right? Because, obviously to a degree, like, yeah, sure. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, she clearly felt like he was still one of those people who only wanted stuff from her.
I think that maybe in that scene for sure, but I think overall because they even mentioned this in the last episode, that no one else gets them. No one else gets what it was like working on Horsing Around, a hit popular show, and then the rebuttal from that, and what you had to kind of go through. So when she talks to him and calls him up, she's like, it's literally an old friend, someone who won't judge me, who won't ask, except for that scene, ask anything of me, but to just be like a friend and someone who understands me. But that scene, like that, we've never seen that their relationship ever like that, you know. So that was a good testament, I guess, or just like a
super revealing moment from the past that shows you why we are where we are.
Yes,
absolutely.
And so he's obviously feeling guilt. I mean, he's watching old episodes of Horsing Around and saw the news and went to the funeral. But then we get this really touching scene when Diane comes over, and that's kind of when they reconcile a little bit.
Yeah.
And she tells him something that he's never heard her say before about Horsing Around. Do you want to?
Go ahead. No. You're setting it up beautifully. I'm enwrapped. Come on.
Oh, thank you so much. Now I have this pressure. No, but pretty much Diane was just like, I also had a screwed up, messed up family. It's also interesting to see the parallels of how each of them dealt with that.
Yeah.
And Diane goes, I watched your show every half hour or every week or something for half an hour, and I felt at home. I finally felt like I had a family. And people do relate to that. They go to entertainment, whether it's music, movies, TV, for that escapism.
Yeah.
So that hit him hard.
Yeah,
Which,
and not even everyone is so self-aware to know that that's why they're going back to
I
it.
know.
A lot of people just watch things like it makes people like it. It's good. You know.
It's true. No, yeah, you're right.
So I totally agree. It's interesting that she has this self-awareness about herself, about the things that she likes and the way that they make her feel. Maybe in hindsight, because she's like, oh, well, I was a kid and they make me who I am now.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because it also ties her more intimately to Bojack and to her, to Bojack and her sense of like self.
Yeah.
You know, and her sense
Definitely.
of everything.
I know. That's when he says to her, like, let's not be distant anymore. So hopefully in this few episodes to come, we get more. They need each other.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
I'm worried because we kind of discovered over the last few episodes, especially, that Bojack is almost incapable of being a friend to women.
Yeah.
Like he only views women as mommies, as sexual partners.
But do you think it's different a little bit with Diane? Maybe because she has a Mr. Peanut Butter, so it's like...
No, like
Yeah.
I wish it was. Like I
Yeah.
really do, but I don't think it is. Just for the simple fact of like, oh, like when we had the episode 9, because we're talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
And Carolyn was like, "Oh, Bojack, I slept with the gaffer's wife, and now he's not lighting me correctly." That was like her first example. So like Bojack doesn't give a like 2 shits about like having sex with anyone else's wife. Like he's just gonna do it. Maybe a little bit worse because it's Mr. Peanut Butter, and even then, like he was ready to kiss Diane that time that he kissed her, and like when he finally did talk about it with Mr. Peanut Butter on the show, Hollywood stars and celebrities,
Right.
he's like, yeah, no, we talk to each other because we are married, like obviously. So it's interesting because I feel like Diane and Bojack are foils. They could definitely be the same person under different circumstances,
Yeah.
but the way they deal with things is so vastly different.
Very different.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I just feel like she is trying really hard to be a real person, and he's trying really hard to like figure out what being a real person is, and ignoring like taking real steps. He's just
Right.
kind of in his, he's like, it's tunnel vision.
Right.
It's like he's got the horse blinders on.
Yeah. But in a way, they do better each other. I mean, they, like I said, they know each other, so they try to give each other as much advice as they can to improve one another, whether it's like in their careers or personally. But I think it's important to keep those ones around that do know you.
Yeah.
It's like he said, you can't not be part of my life. So
Yeah,
whether it's not as
exactly.
close, hopefully she's still in the life.
Yeah. I'm just wary about Bojack
I
and his
know.
women relationships right now. It's feeling like he's really burning a lot of bridges. But that said, I am hopeful. And we get to,
Yeah,
speaking of hopeful, let's talk about Todd a little bit. Because
Yes.
Todd gets some great news this episode.
Yeah, first of all, he has this new space for his Cadabra.
Oh, we haven't even talked about like the biggest thing in this episode.
Well, we will,
Okay.
for sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you mean the
real
strainers, right? Yeah, we're sure.
I got
We
real
will.
excited. But yeah, Todd
We
is
definitely
happy.
will.
Todd is happy because he is suddenly rich. His Cadabra business is makes him millions of dollars, and he suddenly is great. And he's like,
It went from like a safe space for women for a better place for men because
yeah.
of the way they...
Now it's a space for men to look at women, but while being driven by them.
And it's great because he gets a check of $8 million.
You know,
And
just 8 million.
like, I wanted to know I wanted to see Todd like on top, like run away with that money and do something
You wanted to
amazing.
see Todd's montage of his spending spree.
I know, exactly. What would he have spent that $8 million on? Let's
What's
be
he going
real.
to spend it on? Yeah.
Yeah, then Emily comes and we spend it on a tip
Yeah.
from ice cream.
Oh, that's right.
But can you believe the reation to that? They just laugh it off and
Like,
move on.
oh yeah, I can believe for Todd. That's totally Todd.
It's like a Todd move.
Oh, I lost $8 million. Oh well. Yeah.
Moving on.
Cutest.
And then
Yeah.
we get a great conversation between the two.
Yes. Where they kind of talk about Todd's sexuality or kind of his lack of interest in it. Really.
Emily literally is like, Todd, like, what are you? Are you gay? He's like, what? No. But I don't think I'm straight either. I don't know what I am. And she's like, that's okay. And it's like, it is okay. Because
Yeah.
let alone cartoons, have we even seen a character just be a person without having a sexual attraction or
Romantic
anything.
entanglements. Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting having like this character that's basically like asexual. That is just like it doesn't none of it interests me. Like I'm just a person. Just let me be a person. It's fascinating because you assume Todd, being the kind of bro-y, like stubbly dude that he is, that he's going to be kind of fratty or kind of sleazy or like have that kind of bent towards being like heteronormative.
Right.
And like he's not. And anyway, he's also not a normal character in any way. But that it's really I agree. It's really cool that we're getting that representation of a character who defies explanation.
Yeah, I know.
For a lot of his his episodes.
And again, like almost every character in this episode of this whole season, like everyone is just defined by the choices they make and the decisions and their personalities, but no one by their color or their gender orientation, sexual orientation, which is great. It's great.
No, you're right.
There's no labels except that you're a horse and a cat. But even that they don't really speak on too much. Like, oh, you're a cat, you're gonna be like this.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Yeah, there's not a lot of animal racism as much as you think there might be.
You can call it animal racism, exactly.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, there's that moment when she meets what's his name? I'm so sorry.
Ralph.
Ralph. Yeah,
There
and they're
is
like,
that
oh, a
moment.
cat and a mouse.
But it was like,
I know how this is ending. It's clearly a joke. It's like an old wives' tale or something almost.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's very cute. The way they play it.
I know, and that's hard for storytelling.
Yeah.
In a way.
Playing racism in a way that's like, or racial.
Playing absolutely no race. It's like just strictly character.
Right.
That's genius.
Yeah.
That said, though, what?
That said, though, there are a lot of white characters in this show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of white folks. A lot of the humans are white. But though I will say,
they've done their best to.
Yeah, they're fairly diverse. I mean, we've got Asian Daria, like we said. Angela Bassett is in this season and is wonderful. I really do hope that they didn't burn the bridge and that she is like coming back for some capacity.
I know. We will get to Strainers, but this also I want to talk about Princess Carolyn too, because first of all she fired Diane,
right?
Because she needed to.
Yeah.
That was in the last episode. I didn't mention that, but she had to fire her, and we see a double date happening between Princess Carolyn, Diane, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Ralph, and a great like euphoric. What's the word? My vocabulary helper.
Ooh, the word where you like have a
epiphany.
Epiphany. There you go.
But what's the euphoric? But isn't there like a noun, like a adjective moment?
Epiphany. You got it.
Oh no, there's a
have an epiphany.
I don't think that's what I'm going. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. She does have a that was euphoric. Tweet at me.
Euphoric is just very happy.
Ugh, my God, my vocabulary. Literally, like
sorry guys.
It's a weakness.
If you have complaints
that I'm still battling,
you can tweet them at Kanika.
Yeah, you could.
Hashtag terrible vocab Kanika.
Yeah, it's gonna uncover a lot of my childhood problems.
I'll be tweeting at her later, starting that hashtag.
What's the hashtag?
Hashtag terrible vocab Kanika. Anyway.
Oh, okay. And she decides she wants to be a manager.
Yes.
Because during the conversation, she's like, I'm going to set you up with Ralph's sister who runs this website, and you'd be great for it. And Ralph's like, look at you setting this meeting up. You're great. And she goes, that's it. I should be a manager. He's like, what's the difference? There's a difference, outsider.
Yep. Apparently.
Agents fight for jobs. Managers control it from start to finish. That's the big difference. You're like a baby, mom, whatever. A mom to a baby versus the agent's just like here's the milk. But the mom, like, gives the milk and the food and the bedtime. Does that make sense?
Yes. Sort of.
I went too deep into that.
An actor is a baby, and
sorry.
their agent is their agent is just a clerk at a store that sells milk. It sounds like
clerk at a store.
Sure,
kind
and
of.
then the manager is their mom.
Yeah.
Got it. So, mom, if you're watching, you need a manager. Just kidding. Yeah.
I don't want a momager.
But so we've decided that Princess Carolyn is going to become a manager, which is great. It was a great use of her.
But yeah, it's a good.
Feels like where we're going. Feels like it's a really good use of her skill set because she's basically a hustler, and like her only real fault is that she was holding on to Bojack for too long.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like this is a really good opportunity for her to reinvent herself a little bit, but also she just she's in a great place. She's a strong, smart lady who just needs like the right opportunity. You know what I mean? I'm really happy that she has Ralph. I really hope that Ralph comes back and is a larger player in the later episodes, he can even he doesn't even have to be a larger player. He can just be like kind of there in the background, being, I'm Ralph. Like,
Yeah, he seems
he's
like
just cute. I just like him.
He seems like he would support her, but I don't want him to take away too many of her, like.
Sure.
He was apprehensive, like, oh, should you be doing this? You got out of this at the wrong place, but maybe he's just concerned.
I think he's just concerned because she
It was
was
like too
so
concerned. I was like, just
miserable, right?
lay off. Yeah, I guess. But I was like, just.
I mean, she's
relax.
also very dramatic. I feel like when they have their date, she's just like, "Oh yeah, my job." Ugh, And then he's like, "Well, you just quit. Are you sure you want to like jump into a new career choice like
But he
immediately?"
just met her. Like, don't.
That's true.
I don't like those kind of.
Though they were on a 6-week bender, so they could have been dating for a little bit longer than we're thinking. They've been dating like 2.5 months, 3 months.
You make a valid point.
I mean, in adult
Still,
time,
even if you know someone for 10 years, you don't really know them.
when you're in your 40s, though,
Yeah, sorry.
I feel like if you're in your 40s, if Princess Carolyn is in her 40s or late 30s, 40s, then dating someone for a couple months is forever. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Because,
Forever, but still.
because
things
I'm
like
young. All right.
But things uncover though when you're like 10 years in the relationship and you still don't know
That's
things.
true.
That's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
true colors come out. But we shall see. I'm being dramatic myself right now by being like Ralph's probably a good guy, but he can be too mousy.
I like him. Oh, I see what you did there. So yes,
I actually hate mice. But
PC is gonna be the manager. Diane's writing for the feminist blog.
we'll see. Yeah, that we'll talk about that before we get to the strainers then.
Yeah.
So she meets with the sister. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Stilton runs chain of hotels. We never really knew what he did.
Right.
So,
And now we know.
Yeah.
That he's from that kind know.
yeah. Like the Hiltons,
Right.
but the Stiltons. And
Oh.
well, that's not the right thing.
Is it?
Light bulb.
Bing.
I
Got
have
it.
to be pretty particular.
Yes.
Euphoric. And she meets this character who is played or voiced by Kimiko Glenn,
Oh,
who is what's her name on Orange is the New Black?
I don't know.
Oh, I did that
was
after
gonna ask
show.
you
I
who
did that after
Kimiko
show and
Glenn
AFTERBUZZ
was.
too. Oh, do you watch Orange is the New Black?
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person.
Okay, well she's on
Tardy to
Orange
the
is the New
party.
Black. So you have to say that.
I-
But she's great, and she runs Girl Crush, and she has a really interesting offer for Diane
Mm-hmm.
to write against Mr. Peanut Butter.
Right. So
That
it's
is going to bring so much tension.
right. Such a conflict of
Because
interests.
Diane's career was kind of the reason why they had a fallout.
True.
So her career again now is going to have another huge conflict between them because he's about to run for governor, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. You got that phone call and it's like, all right.
No, the door.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So
His ex-wife,
right.
played by Lucy, what's her name? I wrote it. Lake Bell.
Lake Bell.
Lake Bell
Mm-hmm.
approached him and said, how would you like to run for the governor? So, a governor of California. So, if he were to do that and Diane were to write a piece against him, that is just going to be.
Yeah, it's a super conflict of interests and give us the opportunity to like. We've been talking about this whole season. Like, is this the end of Diane and Princess Carolyn? In the end of Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it is. It's the beginning of the end, and I think that this, that's where they'll break up. Is
Yeah,
at some point during this campaign, because you can't, Mr. Peanut Butter. I mean, yeah, he's too good, and there are no words. It's gonna be crazy.
I know. Let's talk about those strainers, though.
Okay. Finally, we got to the spaghetti strainers.
Yay!
Finally, we've paid off the strainers. So, there's a catastrophe, a apostrophe of like just ridiculous proportions.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Apostrophe, yeah.
Apostrophe.
Yeah, it was stupid.
No,
So remind me again how the spaghetti gets in the ocean, because all of the spaghetti gets into the ocean.
Margot Martindale with
Oh,
her
that's
Todd
right.
head is on an Islam escape, whatever.
Sure.
And there is
Dodging the
a
police.
big ship coming in for Sandro's restaurant. Full circle right there.
Bring it all together.
Right? To bring in all the food,
All the
including
noodles.
spaghetti. So the blimp is watching from afar, which apparently they don't meddle into the land or the sea. They're just observers. I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
Mark. Sees them kind of crash into each other, and then the spaghetti is all out in the ocean, and then the reflection
From the blimp that it says "You are Secretariat" that Bojack chose.
again full circle.
Boils this pasta and expands.
It's like Bojack in a way caused this.
Yeah, and the
all
the
connected to
underwater
Bojack.
and the underwater city from our silent episode
Yeah.
is set upon by rogue pasta.
Yeah. which, by the way, olive oil does not decrease the stickiness. That is a myth.
It's a myth.
I love how before they were going down. Oh no.
Oh no, it's a myth. So we finally have the isn't the whale announcer, the whale anchor who lays it all out
On MSNBC.
Yeah, he's like oh.
Hank Apocalypse.
He's like, we need people. We need someone who has a ridiculous amount of strainers. Who is it?
He talked to a spaghetti expert or some food expert. She's like, we're gonna happen to need a lot of spaghetti strainers, someone with a lot of cars who can be driven by strong people, like whales, for example.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
happened to have all of those.
And they
all
just
the
laid
criteria.
out the whole thing.
Right.
Yep.
But Mr. Peanut Butter decides to watch a movie during the day and turn his phone off for 2 hours.
Oh, I know. Thanks, Mr. Peanut Butter.
And then he decides to check his voicemails from Todd in order.
In order, because I feel like it's gotta be in order.
But then we get that great scene about how he just like comes on the car. He has like his strainers in his hand, like a superhero.
Yeah, it's a very
saves the
epic
day.
moment in the show.
We've been leading up. We've been trying, asking ourselves, are these ever going to come to good use?
And the real question, Kanika, were you satisfied by that use of the strainers?
That's a really good question.
Did you feel like all of that? How did you do?
It's funny because I didn't even think about whether I was satisfied or not. There was so much going on, but now that you ask, it wasn't as epic.
Okay.
The idea was epic, but I wish we had seen more.
I guess so. I was
the
really happy
saving.
with the way they used a lot of things, because even so, the fact that the city that was set upon was the city from the Silent episode, and the fact that the whales that are such a big part of it was. I thought it was such. This spaghetti strainer is the literal glue that holds together this season. Like the spaghetti strainers take something from all of these standalone episodes. The episode that was like a film noir that was about the whales, the episode that was all underwater. It takes all of those episodes and puts them into a common denominator. So I feel like it was a real fun way. I was real happy with it. Gonna be really happy with the way that we got our spaghetti strainers at the end. So that's where I'm at. Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty happy, guys.
That's good.
You're like, I wish I could be you.
No, I just I just feel for Bojack.
Yes. I mean, it's hard to
right
disassociate
now because
he's. You want to talk about that final scene?
Yeah, I'm trying to see are we missing anything before we talk about that scene? Because the strainers, it just happened.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there's not much to talk about it other than it's just awesome and it happened.
I know. I love the idea they thought of. That was like an original idea.
Which one?
About how they could use the strainers because it all landed in the ocean.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. With that amount of strainers, you need a big body of water. Yeah. So it's they're like, well, why not the ocean? And
it's the biggest body of water.
Yeah, and obviously something ridiculous like that would happen. So that was great. That was epic. I hope everyone in the audience, the viewers, liked that scene. Let's talk about Bojack in terms of Ethan around, because again, he grabbed Ethan from his tool store to move to Hollywood to only say peace. But this was I guess it was valid in the sense that it hit him because first, I like the scene when Bojack and Ethan were working on the scene together.
Yeah.
And it was you could see Bojack really getting into the material, getting into the work.
Getting really excited.
Doing a good job about directing a scene.
Caring about something.
Yeah, and I could see him being a great director, great writer, which obviously makes for a good actor too. I mean, it goes hand in hand. And he's enjoying it, starting the scene, then he sees a parallel to Sarah Lynn's character and asks her, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she goes, you. I want to be famous. And that just got him spinning.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not a good aspiration.
And I mean, it just...
He can't make the same mistake again.
That's what he wanted when he was that little, too. He wanted to be Secretariat. Yeah. He wanted to be that famous guy. So he sees this kid and sees that bright hope in its eyes. And he's like, I can't let you be me.
I know. I can't also make the mistakes I did with Sarah Lynn. It just happened.
Yeah. And then there's a scene with the wild horses.
Yeah, so he escapes in a way, and he just says, I'm leaving, and Ethan's like, where are you going? He's like, I don't know. And
yeah, he just has to get away for a second.
Yeah, and he's driving, and he's literally, taking his hands off the wheel, letting go of everything in his life, even though he's already let it go in a way.
Yeah, literally letting go.
I love that song that we played in the beginning.
Yeah.
It played and puts his foot on the on the speed and doesn't stop. The car swerves, but then something in him makes him want to open his eyes, which is a whole group of wild horses running. And when you watch that scene of him looking into the horses and you looking at Bojack looking at the horses, what went through your mind?
Gosh, I mean, it's so emotional because it's this idea, his idea of what happiness is has always been based on achieving something, becoming acclaimed from, you know, other people, having people be like, you're the greatest actor, here's an Oscar. So the idea is just to be wild and free and just to live your life and just to enjoy the small moments. I think he's just starting to understand that moment with Sarah Lynn where he's like, yeah, the cosmos is so huge, we just have to enjoy these moments.
Yeah.
And like he never got the opportunity to be a kid and play, really. Like
I
every
know.
time we see a flashback of him being a kid and playing, his mother or father says something horrible to him and destroys this like idea of like running, playing, being free and open and wild. Like, and maybe this is the season where he embraces that. Maybe we're gonna see like the hippie version of Bojack, you know, like the who's just like,
I like
you know
that.
what, man, I'm trying to let it just happen. You know what I mean? Like that would be fun, and also just largely different from the way that he's approached his life up to now. So I'm really hopeful. It was a really pretty scene because it's just the implication of what freedom means to Bojack and the fact that I don't think that he's ever really thought about it before because he feels so trapped by Hollywood and by the rote that he has to do every time.
No, that's really interesting. The wild and free part too. I mean, he's literally looking at a reflection of himself by looking at these horses. Yeah, and when I first saw it, I mean, I obviously couldn't tell what he was really thinking. It's open to interpretation, but he would see the horses struggle and the sweat running down their face as if they're running for something. They have a purpose. We don't know where they're going, and neither does he really care. Neither do they care. It's the actual journey, really, as cliched as it is.
It's the journey that matters.
Yeah,
You're
it's
totally
like
right.
Yeah, it's like that process of hitting something and then going for it. Like I said, probably hitting some sort of bottom, letting everything go, starting over, starting fresh from a new angle that you know nothing about, but you can't it won't bother you because you don't know anything about it. You don't have bad history from it. So it's just like, I don't know,
I mean,
going for it, running for it, running for something.
He talked about a little bit like that kind of thing with Cuddly Whiskers, and I feel like
oh yeah,
we've got to get that opportunity for Bojack to reset also. So yes, agreed.
I think it's we hope and we cross our fingers for Bojack's sake. I mean, there's going to be another season, so he has to be in it, obviously.
It's a whole season of Bojack, no Bojack.
Yeah, right. Actually, in this episode, he wasn't really seen that much. Yeah. Only in the ending, and then with Ethan around, we still loved it.
It's true. His presence was felt more so than his.
So okay, I love that scene, and we get a great phone call.
Yeah.
From a horse who looks like
a lot like Bojack.
I mean, obviously, the first assumption we can make is the daughter.
Yeah, and
but
especially because we have that
mother is what I want to know.
It's a great question, and we have that line earlier when
unless it's his sister.
Oh, interesting. Or a niece, if he had siblings.
Niece doesn't make it as juicy. I would say
true.
The daughter
right.
is the juiciest, but that I hope turns him around.
Yeah, I mean, if anything is going to, exactly.
He'll start over.
We've really set up the idea of him being fulfilled by family too in that silent episode. So I hope so, but that's so crazy.
Horses.
So crazy, so good, so BoJack Horseman.
I love this show.
Me too.
Not enough people watch it.
Watch it. Tell your friends to watch it. Tell your parents that it's a different show that they like.
But, you know, it's interesting because for people who maybe want to have more of a deeper understanding of this and learn the creators behind it, I mean, Will Arnett put his heart and soul into a lot of shows, including Flaked and this one, and it speaks to his past alcohol problem that he's been open with. There's a lot of interviews with him. There's one great one with the Hollywood Reporter if you want to read it. So this definitely speaks to also his past stories and what he's been through. So it just gives more meaning to the show. And there are people like this who live this life with mental illness, and I'm not sure if people can relate, if the show helps them relate. but it just gives more understanding to the issue at hand. And I think don't think twice before meeting someone either, like meaning making a judgment on somebody, because you don't know what they're going through. Like Bojack, again, like Bojack has like this blunt, rude character type, but he actually has a depression and mental illness problem, so you wouldn't know that.
He's a very soft heart at his core.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything you want to say, Andrew, before we sign off for good?
My goodness.
Until next season?
Until next season. My goodness, what a show. I love Bojack Horseman. I just want to say thank you to the team of Bojack Horseman for making it. We're such fans of the show. To the cast, we aspire to be like you someday. Fantastic work. Paul F. Tompkins, if you're listening, your people didn't get to me in time. You could have been here. It would have been fun.
Same as the creator. I know you guys responded like briefly, but
yeah, Raphael, WTF. No, you're good. Maybe you guys will come back next season. Anyway,
we'll make sure of that.
We loved this show. Thank you so much to the animators. Thank you so much to the cast and crew. Thank you so much to everyone involved. This show was rad. Keep making it because we enjoy talking about it.
Thank you, Andrew, for thanking them. Thank you. And thank you, listeners and viewers and fans of the show, for sticking with us. And we hope in the next season we'll interact with you guys a lot more too, because you want to have more live chats and you have call-ins. Why not? It makes for more interesting discussion. Do you want to give predictions? I know that was like...
I feel like we covered a lot of our predictions.
We did, right?
If you have anything extra, toss it on. But
no,
I feel like
I've
thoroughly covered mine.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Let us know, guys, too. Tweet at us, comment below, follow AfterBuzz TV on all social media. That's YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. And you can follow me, your host, Kanika Lal, on Twitter at Kanika Lal, and Instagram at You Can Have It Lal. YouTube, hopefully I'll be making more videos there. And yeah, I can't think of anything. Oh, Snapchat at Kanika the Sneak.
Add her on that.
Snapchat.
And if you guys want to talk to me in some capacity, find me on the Twitter at Andrew Mena, or on Instagram at the Andrew Mena, or just Google Andrew Mena, and you'll probably find something.
We'll see what we find. All right, guys. See you next year.
Yay!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.